occurred in the parking lot of my new apartment complex. My husband and my ex-best friend were caught on camera. I saw them together on security footage. New keys in hand, old lies in play. What would you have done? The Cleveland sky was gray, as it always seemed to be in early March of 2025. Moving day. Boxes were piled haphazardly in our new living room, a testament to the sheer chaos of uprooting a life. Owen, my husband of 15 years, was out getting more boxes, a line I'd heard at least 5 times already that morning. And Brianna, my ex-best friend, supposedly still grieving the end of our friendship after a stupid argument about, well, I can't even remember. The argument was ridiculous, so overblown. Looking back, I think she manufactured it. I should have known then. I was setting up the new security system, a little paranoid, maybe. But after a string of break-ins in the neighborhood, I wanted to be safe. I scrolled through the camera feeds, making sure each one was working properly. That's when I saw it. The parking lot, our assigned spot, Owen's car, and Brianna. They were close, too close for comfort. His arm was around her and she was laughing, throwing her head back in that way I used to find so charming. They were holding hands. I saw the new keys glinting in her hand, keys that I thought were only for our new apartment. My blood ran cold. What was going on? I rewound the footage. Again and again. Each time, the knot in my stomach tightened. It wasn't just a friendly hug. It wasn't just a casual conversation. There was an intimacy there, a familiarity that made my skin crawl. New keys. Why would she have new keys? And why was Owen so comfortable with her? I forced myself to breathe. Maybe there was a perfectly innocent explanation. Maybe. But deep down, I knew. I knew with a certainty that cut through me like a knife. They were together. In that way. I grabbed my coat, my hands shaking so badly I could barely button it. I had to confront them. I had to know the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Leaving the boxes behind and my half-unpacked life, I stormed out of the apartment. As I walked, I replayed moments from the past few months, looking for signs I missed. Owen's late nights at the office, Brianna's sudden interest in visiting him there, the secret smiles, the hushed phone calls. I'd been so blind. How could I have been so blind? When I reached the parking lot, Owen's car was gone. They were gone. Where could they have gone? My mind raced with possibilities, each more horrifying than the last. I leaned against the nearest car, trying to catch my breath. What now? What did I do? I went back upstairs, a hollow ache in my chest. I couldn't face unpacking, couldn't face anything. I just sat on the floor surrounded by boxes, replaying the security footage, searching for some clue, some hint that I was wrong, that this was all a terrible misunderstanding, but there was nothing. Only the undeniable truth staring back at me from the screen. Later that evening, Owen. "Hey," he said, trying to sound casual. "Sorry I was gone so long. Had to run some errands." "Errands," I repeated, my voice dangerously calm. "Is that what you're calling it?" He shifted uncomfortably. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I saw you, Owen," I said, my voice trembling. "I saw you with Brianna, in the parking lot, with the keys." His face paled. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He just stood there, caught, red-handed. What did you do in this situation? Would you have waited to confront them, or acted right away? "What were you doing with her, Owen?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Tell me the truth." "It's not what you think," he stammered. "Oh, really?" Because it looked pretty damn clear to me. "You were holding hands. You were laughing. She had keys to our apartment." "What was going on?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Okay, fine. You caught me. But it's complicated." "Complicated? How complicated can it be?" "You were with my ex-best friend, looking very cozy." "Explain it to me." He hesitated, then, She needed a place to stay, just for a little while, She's been having some problems. Problems? What kind of problems? And why didn't you tell me? Why were you sneaking around? He looked down at the floor, avoiding my gaze. I didn't want to upset you, he mumbled. Upset me? Owen, you were cheating on me. That's a little bit more than upsetting. I didn't cheat on you, he insisted. Nothing happened, I swear. I stared at him, searching his face for any sign of sincerity, but all I saw was guilt and fear. I didn't believe him, not for a second. So let me get this straight, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You're telling me you were just helping her out? That there's nothing going on between you two? That's exactly what I'm telling you, he said, his voice firm. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But I couldn't. The image of them in the parking lot was burned into my brain. The way he looked at her, the way she laughed with him, it was all too much. I don't believe you, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't believe a word you're saying. I needed to find proof. The truth. So, where to look? I went through the motions of unpacking, but my heart wasn't in it. Every time Owen came near me, I recoiled. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with him. I didn't know what to do. Should I kick him out? Should I try to work things out? Could I ever trust him again? One afternoon, while Owen was at work, I decided to do some digging. I started with his phone. I knew it was a violation of privacy, but I didn't care. I needed to know the truth. I waited until I was sure he was gone. Then I grabbed his phone from the charger on his nightstand. I knew his password, thankfully. He wasn't the brightest. I quickly went to his text messages, nothing incriminating with Brianna's name on it. Frustrated, I tried looking at other names. I went through his call history. Nothing there either. He was being careful. Too careful. I then decided to check his email. I went through his inbox, his sent mail, his trash. Nothing. He had deleted everything. He had covered his tracks. Smart, but not smart enough. He forgot about one thing: the cloud. I logged into his cloud account on my laptop. I scrolled through his photos, his documents, his notes, and then I found it. A folder labeled Project Phoenix. My heart pounded in my chest. What was Project Phoenix? I opened the folder. Inside were several documents: a lease agreement, a bank statement, and a copy of Brianna's driver's license, all for a second apartment. I read through the lease agreement. It was for an apartment in the same complex as ours. Owen had signed it, using Brianna's credit card without her permission. It was fraud, identity theft, and the apartment was listed under Brianna's name. The bank statement confirmed it. There were charges for rent, utilities, and furniture, all paid for with Brianna's credit card. I felt sick. How could he do this? How could he betray me like this? And how could he betray Brianna? This was so much worse than I imagined. This wasn't just an affair. This was a crime. I printed out all the documents and gathered my thoughts. I had proof. Solid, irrefutable proof. Now what? What should I do with it? I decided to confront Brianna. I needed to hear her side of the story. I needed to know if she knew about the second apartment, the fraudulent lease. I found her address online and drove to her apartment. I parked across the street and watched the building for a while, trying to calm my nerves. What was I going to say? How would she react? I walked up to her door and knocked. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold it still. What if she was in on it? The door opened. Brianna stood there, looking surprised to see me. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice cold. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. "About Owen." She hesitated, then sighed. "Fine," she said, stepping aside. "Come in." Her apartment was small and sparsely furnished. It looked temporary, like she wasn't planning on staying long. Which, technically, she wasn't, as she wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked, her arms crossed. I pulled out the documents I had printed from Owen's cloud account. "I know about the second apartment," I said, holding them out to her. "I know about the lease. I know about the credit card." She stared at the documents. her eyes widening in disbelief. "What is this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "It's proof that Owen has been using your credit card to pay for a second apartment in this building. Without your permission." She looked at me, then back at the documents. "I don't understand," she said, shaking her head. "I didn't know anything about this." "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice skeptical. "Because it seems pretty convenient that you just happened to move into the same building as us, and that Owen just happened to be helping you out." "I swear I didn't know," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "He told me he was just helping me find a place to stay. He said he had a friend who owned this building and that he could get me a good deal." I stared at her, trying to gauge her sincerity. Could she really be this naive? Or was she just a good actress? It was hard to tell, but I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. For now. "So, you're saying you didn't know he was using your credit card?" I asked. "No," she insisted. "I would never have agreed to that. I'm already struggling financially as it is." I looked at her, studying her face. I could see the shock and confusion in her eyes. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she really was a victim in all of this. "Okay," I said, my voice softening. "I believe you, but that still doesn't explain why you were holding hands with my husband in the parking lot." Her face flushed. That was a mistake," she stammered. I was upset, and he was being supportive. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything? Brianna, you were my best friend. How could you do this to me?" "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, her voice cracking. "I swear, it just happened. I'm so sorry." I stared at her, my heart aching. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to forgive her, but it was so hard. How could I trust her again? How could I ever trust Owen again? "I don't know what to do," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know who to believe anymore." "I know I messed up," she said, her voice pleading. "But please, give me a chance to make things right. I'll do anything." I looked at her, then back at the documents in my hand. I had a decision to make. Should I forgive them? Should I expose them? Or should I just walk away and start over? And if I forgave them, could I ever really forget? Could I ever truly trust them again? What would you do? I went home, my head spinning. I didn't know what to do with the information I had. I could call the police and report Owen for fraud and identity theft. I could confront him again and demand a divorce. Or I could try to forgive him and Brianna and move on. But how could I forgive such a betrayal? That night, Owen came home late, looking exhausted. I was sitting on the couch, waiting for him. He walked in, took one look at my face, and knew something was wrong. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice cautious. I held up the documents I had printed from his cloud account. "I know everything," I said, my voice cold. "I know about the second apartment. I know about the lease. I know about the credit card." He stared at the documents, his face paling. "Where did you get those?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is that you lied to me. You cheated on me, and you committed fraud." He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. "How could you do this, Owen?" I asked, my voice trembling. "How could you betray me like this?" "I don't know," he said. I messed up. I'm so sorry." "Sorry? Is that all you have to say? Sorry? You ruined our marriage. You ruined my friendship with Brianna. You could go to jail for this." He looked down at the floor, avoiding my gaze. "I know," he said. "I know I screwed up. But please, give me a chance to make things right. I'll do anything." I stared at him, my heart aching. I wanted to forgive him. How could I trust him again? How could I ever forget what he had done? "I don't know if I can," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." He looked at me, his eyes filled with tears. "Please," he begged, "don't give up on us. I love you. I don't want to lose you." I looked at him, then back at the documents in my hand. Should I forgive him? Should I expose him? Or should I just walk away and start over? I needed time to think. I told Owen to pack his bags and leave. I couldn't stand to be in the same house with him. He didn't argue. He just packed his things and left, his head hanging low. I watched him go, my heart breaking. After he left, I thought about calling my mom. I was angry, hurt, and confused. I talked to my mother on the phone for hours, crying and venting. She was supportive, but she didn't know what to say. She told me to follow my heart, but my heart was telling me to do completely different things. One morning, I woke up with a clear head. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't forgive Owen, not after everything he had done. He had betrayed me, he had betrayed Brianna, and he had broken the law. I couldn't just let him get away with it. I called a lawyer and told him everything. He advised me to file for divorce and to report Owen to the police for fraud and identity theft. I followed his advice. It wasn't easy. The divorce was messy and contentious. Owen fought me every step of the way. He tried to gaslight me, telling me that I was overreacting, that I was being unreasonable. But I stood my ground. I wasn't going to let him manipulate me anymore. The police investigated Owen, and they eventually arrested him. He was charged with fraud, identity theft, and several other crimes. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Brianna testified against Owen at his trial. She was a key witness for the prosecution. She told the court how Owen had manipulated her, how he had used her credit card without her permission, and how he had lied to her about the second apartment. After the trial, Brianna and I started to rebuild our friendship. It wasn't easy, but we were both committed to making it work. We had both been hurt by Owen, and we both needed each other's support. It took a long time, but eventually I started to heal. I learned to trust again, and I found love again. I met a wonderful man who treated me with respect and kindness. We got married and started a family. I never forgot what happened with Owen and Brianna. It was a painful chapter in my life, but I learned from it. I learned to trust my instincts, to stand up for myself, and to never let anyone take advantage of me. I could have chosen revenge. I could have ruined Owen's life even more than he ruined mine. But I didn't. I chose to report him, to seek justice, and to move on with my life. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the right thing to do. Looking back, I'm proud of the way I handled things. I could have easily spiraled into bitterness and resentment. I chose to forgive, to heal, and to move forward. And that's what made all the difference. What would you have chosen? Forgiveness or justice? Sometimes, the hardest betrayals lead to the greatest growth. I lost a husband and a best friend, but I gained something even more valuable: my self-respect. And in the end, that's all that really matters. So what would you do if you found yourself in my shoes? Would you choose revenge, or would you choose forgiveness? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one. Write what you would choose. My therapist, Dr. Evans, always said forgiveness wasn't about condoning their actions, but freeing myself from the chains of resentment. Easier said than done, right? Especially when I was still sorting through boxes. A grim reminder of the life I thought I'd have. The sun streamed through the living room window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. A pathetic ballet of broken dreams. I decided to paint the spare room. A vibrant yellow, something cheerful. I figured a little color therapy couldn't hurt. As I prepped the walls, scraping off old wallpaper, I found something wedged behind a loose section, a small folded piece of paper. My heart skipped a beat. What was this? I carefully unfolded it. It was a note, written in a familiar scrawl, Owen's scrawl, but it wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to his mother. Mom, it read. I did what you asked. Brianna is in the building. Everything is going according to plan. Don't worry, she suspects nothing. I'll keep you updated. My blood ran cold. His mother? What was she involved in? What plan? What was going on? Suddenly, everything felt different. This wasn't just about an affair. This was orchestrated. But why? What could his mother possibly gain from this? I needed to talk to her. I hadn't spoken to her since the arrest. She had always been difficult, controlling, but I never imagined she would be capable of something like this. I drove to her house, my hands gripping the steering wheel. The drive felt like it took hours. Every red light felt like an eternity. I kept replaying the note in my head, trying to make sense of it. I needed answers. I pulled up to her house. It was a small, well-kept bungalow with a meticulously manicured lawn. Everything always had to be perfect for her. I took a deep breath and walked to the front door. I rang the bell. She opened the door, her face etched with surprise. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice cold. "I need to talk to you," I said, holding up the note. "About this." She glanced at the note, then back at me. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, trying to shut the door. I put my foot in the way, preventing her from closing it. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice firm. "I know you were involved in this. I know you helped Owen." "Why?" she sighed, stepping aside. "Fine," she said. "Come in." Her living room was immaculate. Everything was perfectly in its place. It was like stepping into a museum. "What do you want to know?" she asked, sitting down on the sofa. "Why did you do it?" I asked. "Why did you help Owen?" She hesitated, then, "I did it for him," she said. "He was unhappy. He deserved better." "Better than me?" I asked, my voice laced with sarcasm. "Yes," she said. "You were never good enough for him. You were always so independent, so focused on your career. You never put him first." I stared at her, speechless. "So you decided to ruin my marriage because I wasn't subservient enough for your son?" I asked. "That's ridiculous." "I just wanted him to be happy," she said. "And I knew that Brianna could make him happy. She was always so admiring of him, so willing to do anything for him." "So you manipulated them both? You orchestrated this whole thing?" "I just gave them a little nudge," she said. "They were already attracted to each other. I just helped them see it." "You committed fraud," I exclaimed. "You helped Owen steal Brianna's identity. You ruined our lives. He wouldn't have done it if he didn't love her. Don't you see? You were in the way of his happiness. I did what I had to do." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman was completely delusional. She actually thought she was doing the right thing.